Yes.
Okay, it's on recording now. So, without wasting time, we're going to dive into the topic for tonight: essential techniques in project management. So, I want it to start flowing. We start from learning the documentations. So all these documentations are going to be generated through a particular technique. And we're going to use a particular tool through a particular technique to produce a particular document. So this is how I want it to flow. And we've done the life cycle. We've seen the life cycle stages of project management. So these are various documents we are going to produce within various stages. And these are various techniques we are going to apply at different stages using different technologies or different tools. So that is how it's flowing. Okay. Okay, we are here back. We are starting with work breakdown structure. Yeah, work breakdown structure, you are going to be hearing this word all over again and again and again as a project manager, not just in this course or this program, but you, in your career, you must know how to break your work into manageable deliverables. So we have a document which we got through this technique, is equally called a work breakdown structure document. But work breakdown structure is a technique in project management. It's a hierarchical outline that breaks down a project into small or manageable deliverable. These are the key words here, the key takeaway in this work breakdown structure. That is one thing you have to take away in this particular topic. You try to break your work into smaller, more manageable deliverable. That is the picture here. It provides a clear picture of the project scope and the relationship between tasks. So this is it. So what is the benefit? It improved project planning and estimation. So it helps us to improve on project planning and estimation. Once item, your chunk of activity or the project is broken down into smaller, manageable, deliverable or tasks. These smaller tasks, this is how you are going to start estimating each task and start assigning timeline, resources like money, and who is going to do that. If you don't break them down, you don't know which of your resources to apply. When we talk about resources here, we talk about human resources. You don't know your team member you are going to assign to do this. You don't know the amount of time you are going to assign. So it's when you break them down, you start estimating how long is it going to take. Is it going to take 2 hours? to do this task? Is it going to take 2 days? Is it going to take 1 week? You have broken it down, so you should be able to estimate because it's very manageable. But if you don't break a project of one year down, how are you going to do that? It's going to be difficult for you. So another benefit is enhanced communication and stakeholder understanding. When items are broken down, it becomes simple. You know different stakeholders, because as you are doing your work, at various stages, you see various stakeholders, you see various team members coming in. So, and with that, you already know team members where they belong, subject matter experts. With that, good communication and good collaboration within your project stakeholders and team members. Increase focus on project deliverables. We already talked about that. Identification of dependencies between tasks. When you break actions down into deliverables, you should be able to understand what tasks are depending on each other. It's very important we understand this term dependencies in project management. More especially now, we are treating waterfall. All this we are doing is still within, most of them are still within waterfall project management. We are still going to look at methodologies. Dependencies. When you talk about dependencies, you can have 2 tasks, task A and task B. You find out that you cannot start task B until task A is finished. So it means that this is dependency. Task B is depending on task A. So these are how if you want to cook, the first thing you need to do is to get all the condiments. And I think you have to make sure that the pot is clean, so you cannot pour the water into the pot, the cooking water into the pot, until you wash the pot and make sure that the pot is clean for the cooking. So it means that pouring the water for the cooking is dependent on clean pot. When the pot is clean, so you see, these are when they are breaking it down. So if you have a team member in the kitchen, like your son or your daughter with you, you are breaking, you say, wash this pot for me. And if there is no water, you are trying to get some water, a cleaner water for the cooking, you say, get this water for me. So without washing the pot, making the pot clean, the cooking cannot start. So that is how we break work into stages. And then these are dependencies. These are key important benefits of work breakdown structure. It's all about everything we do in life is a project. They're all mini projects. Even if we want to eat in a dining, we have to organize the dining, get the plate. Everything is projects. It's just that we're not doing it in a commercial way to make money. So how to create a work breakdown structure? Define the project deliverables. Break down the deliverables into major components. What is even deliverables? Deliverables are the outcome of every task. When we perform a task, we're expecting an outcome. So the outcome is what we call deliverable. So I want us to, these are key words, terminologies. We should understand what it means and how to use them as professionals. We use the word deliverables. That is what we use. Tasks, we use deliverables. That is the way we met it here. Then break down the deliverables into major components. Continue breaking down components into smaller manageable tasks. Verify that all tasks contribute to the final deliverables. Like I say, tasks. So when you are performing a task, it's towards a deliverable, it's towards a goal, it's towards achieving a specific outcome, benefit. Use numbering or coding to represent the hierarchy. So the hierarchy must be, you have to use a number or a code. For instance, you can see, you see this particular example here. You see the way I break this down, you can see the flow. First, you see component here, major component. Under major component, which is system, this is under Dynamics 365 CRM cells. So project deliverable here is to implement Dynamics 365 CRM cells for the sales team. That is the main project we are working on. Then we want to break this particular big work into smaller component or deliverable. So looking at this here, we have component 1 and component 2, which is under this major deliverable. So now the first component here, which is still a deliverable, is a system configuration. And then the second one is data migration. You see, when I say here, use numbering. Under major components here, you see I see major component 1 and major component 2. So someone who is seeing it is now seeing that what I'm trying to achieve here is that I want to finish major component 1 before I get down to major component 2. And looking at major component 1, which is system configuration, what I want to achieve is, under that, there is a task called 1.1, install and configure Dynamics 365 application. That is the first task. And then task 2 is 1.2. You see now how my numbering and coding is flowing. Now I say 1.2, set up security rules and permission. Then you come to components, major component 2, data migration. Then under the major component 2, which is data migration, I use 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3, which is extract data from existing CRM system, map data field to Dynamics 365, and import and validate data. You see the way my work is flowing. It's very beautiful the way it's organized. So it's only somebody who don't know anything about, even if you don't know anything about project management and you are very reasonable, looking at my work, you should know what I'm trying to achieve. You might not understand the technicalities, maybe configuration, migration, but looking at task 1.1, task 1.2, you should know the sequence of activity, and you should know the hierarchy, you should know the dependency. You can see that task 1.2 is depending on task 1.1. I need to install and configure this system before I have to start, setting up rules and permission. And I need to do the system configuration. The system needs to be installed, configured before I start thinking of migrating data from the old system to the new system, and then start validating the data. So please put yourself on mute. It will not stop you from hearing what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know when I went up.
Okay. The best practice for this work breakdown structure is that while doing this, you must involve all the stakeholders so that they will help you. Everybody needs to work together to capture the key deliverables and then break them down. Then use clear and concise language for task description. It's always very good to use very simple description of task. Don't make your task to become too long. If you're looking at my task here, it's just a maximum of like 5 words. You see here, extract data from the existing CRM system. Simple. Import and validate data. Map data field to Dynamics 3. Install and configure. So everything here is very simple and short. So then number 3 of the best practice, ensure the work breakdown structure is complete and reflect the entire project scope. To do that, you need to validate you are working with the stakeholders. Even if you are not having a meeting with the stakeholders, even if you are doing it alone, after breaking your work down, you must give it to stakeholders for validation to say, yes, this is what we want. This is what we want to capture in this project. Review and update the work breakdown structure as the project progresses. It's important to keep on reviewing and updating all your documents. I mean, when I say all your documents from A to the end. The reason being that people join projects, people leave projects. A key project member, like a business analyst, can work 1 month in a project of 6 months and get another job and left. And then you've done your maybe a stakeholder analysis where you documented the BA as a key player in the project. Maybe you capture the name instead of capturing the role, you capture the name. So if there is audit and they call the name will not be there. So immediately somebody is leaving, and you are during stakeholder analysis, or we'll get there very soon. You need to capture everybody by their name, their role, and their position in the company. So when somebody leaves, it's better to update. If somebody joined, then you update. So it's a continuous process, and you continue. And again, as you are working on the project, you might have a change request from your stakeholder asking you to add something that you didn't capture originally in the scope. And it has been approved that that change should be added. Then you have to review and update the work breakdown structure to reflect all the changes as the progresses. So these are a picture of a clear and clean work breakdown structure. We've seen this before. And this is how this, you see the way it's broken down and it's flowing. It looks so beautiful. So in conclusion, the work breakdown structure is a fundamental tool for project management. By creating a detailed work breakdown structure, you can improve your project planning, communication, and overall success. When you have something like this, you have laid a solid foundation in your project. So all you just need to do, you pick one item from the breakdown, like you come to initiate. There's no way you can break your work down into initiate, planning, execute, control, and closure. There is no way after breaking it down, then you come and start from a closure. Start picking item from a closure here. You can't do that. Or you cannot come and start executing while you have to finish items from this initiate stage. And then from you move to planning stage, you see the way your work is flowing. But if you don't break it down, you can just jump in and start laying foundation without doing an excavation or evaluation. So that is the importance. So the next thing we are going to look at is what we called program evaluation and review technique. We call it PAT. Some call it PAT method, some call it PAT analysis. But whichever one you call it, the full name is Program Evaluation and Review Technique. And PAT is similar to CPM. CPM, which we are going to meet immediately after this part, is what we call Critical Path Method. Critical path method, some people call it critical path analysis. Whichever one, the name is critical path method. We are going to look into it after part. So this part takes into account the uncertainty of task duration. It uses 3 time estimates: optimistic, most likely, pessimistic, to statistically calculate the probability of completing a project on time. So what this part is doing is trying to help you to estimate the time it's going to take you to finish a task after breaking your work down into structure. Let me go up a bit. You see, this work, we have broken this work into, now what we are now trying to do here using this part is, how long is it going to take us to do the installation and configure Dynamics 365? Is it 1 day or 2 days? Some of us will say, I can do it in 1 day. Some of you will say, I can do it in 2 days. Some will say, no, I can't do this. Just give me 1 week to study this. You see here, this is team members. We have 3 of us as team members. Me, you, Chineye, and you, Anastasia. You see 3 of us now. How do we estimate this particular work here? Let us say we want to finish this work, this particular number 1, task point 1, within 5 days. We are going to finish it within 5 days. So then I ask you, Chineye, how long do you think we can do this? How long do you think we can do it? Let's say we are a project team now. We are trying to estimate this particular work.
2 days.
2 days. Okay. Because maybe you feel you can do it. Okay. Then if I ask Anastasia, how long do you think we can finish this work?
Maybe 4 days.
4 days? Okay. Okay, me, I think we can do this in 3 days. Can you see there is confusion here? Because Chinenye is now saying 2 days. Anastasia is saying 4 days, and I'm saying 3 days. And this is where this part comes in. This part comes in. Now, looking at what we said here, Chinenye is optimistic. Anastasia is pessimistic. And most likely. That is what the part does here. So, we are not going to throw Chinenye's decision away. We are not going to throw Anastasia's decision away. And we are not going to throw my own away. We are going to take into consideration, we are going to take all these decisions because everybody will have where everybody is coming from. You can, so because we made it into this team because you have something to contribute. Whoever hired you must have evaluated you and know that there is something you want to contribute. So when you say something, it must be respected. So, but how do we carry what everybody is saying along? We cannot take what Chinenye is saying. We cannot. So all we need to do is do a harmonize this, or maybe get the average and then pick the average. So this is where the parts come. So parts help us to estimate using optimistic, using most likely and pessimistic to statistically calculate. So when you're talking about statistically, just like getting the average. So that is what we use to estimate all the tasks we broke down in work breakdown structure. So what is the benefit of parts? We're going to look at this calculation in a short while, but let's see some of the objectives and then see how to do that. It provides a more realistic view of project timeline, considering task variabilities. Help identify tasks with higher schedule risk. Support data-driven decision-making for project scheduling. Then how do we create paths? First, define all the project tasks, just like we've done. We've defined the project tasks, we've broken them down. Estimate optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic duration for the each. We have done that. Some of you have said 2, some said 3, some said 4. Then calculate the weighted average duration for each task. And that is what we are going to do. Use project management software or manual calculation to determine the critical path and project duration probability. So that is how to do that. So the best practice while you are trying to apply this path analysis, use the historical data or expert judgment to create a realistic time estimate. So historical data is that when they ask you, Chinenye, you said 2 days. What is your yardstick, or what is your reference? What is your, what is your decision? Where did you drive your decision from? You say, well, I've done that before. I was in a team and we did it. We did it within 2 days. And they will ask me. I said, actually, I've studied that. I've been reading about that, and based on my expert knowledge on what I know is a bit, it can be done within 3 days based on my note. And we say, Anastasia, why I'm saying 3 days? Because I've not done it before. I think it's going to be a bit difficult. So that's why I'm saying 4 days. So everybody have where they are coming from. So based on historical data, you have said 2 days because you've done that before. Then based on my expert judgment, I've been studying that. So that, and based on, being realistic, and I say is just saying the truth. I have not done this before, but I believe it can be done within 4 days. So that is how it's done. Consider using path in conjunction with critical path method for a comprehensive project schedule and analysis. Monitor project progress and update path estimate as needed. So that is what path is all about. So let's see an example of how this path is done. Looking at this example, in the following example, there are 7 tasks labeled A to G. Some tasks can be done concurrently. When a task can be done concurrently, it means that they are not dependent on each other. They are in a parallel line. While other tasks cannot be done until their predecessor task is completed. So it means that such tasks are dependent on some tasks. That's what we mean by dependencies. So each task has 3 time estimates, and this is where the path is coming in. 3 time estimate. The optimistic time estimate is O, that is the standard, the formula, and the most likely or normal time estimate is called M, that is the formula, and the pessimistic time estimate is called P, that is the formula. The expected time is called TE. So that is the expected time to compute using the formula we are trying to get now. So the formula for us to get the weighted average and then use it as the time, the best estimate for this is, what we are going to do is 0 plus 4m plus p divided by 6. That is the formula. So with this formula, we should be able to get the expected time using both Chinenye, using Anastasia, and using mine. Everybody's decision is now going to be taken into consideration. So even if you have a group of like, say, 20 people, you say, how can 20 people, all you need to do is create some time as a project manager to make work easy for you. You say, I think, let's say this is going to be 2, 4, or 6, or 1, 2, 3. So you must state like 3 numbers, and all you do is, if you believe we can do this in 2 days, vote. Those who believe we can do it in 4 days, vote. Those who believe we can do it in 6 days, vote. Now you see we've created 3 time estimates here. So after voting, then, because you must have 3 time estimates. So within the 3 time estimates, let's say, Chinenye, you said 2. Yeah. Then the normal time estimate, me, let's say I said 3, but let's just say it's 4 that I said. And Anastasia said 6, which is the pessimistic time, and me is normal time. So, whichever time is closest to 0 should be the pessimistic time. And out of the 3 numbers, whichever time is the most far away should be the pessimistic, and whichever time is in the middle should be the normal, the most likely, not normal, the most likely time. So now looking at it here, when you compute this, the answer is going to be 4. So let's say 4 by this normal time is 4. So 4 by 4 is 16. Yeah. And then P here. So 4 by 4, 16 plus 2 divided by 6. So I think that is the answer. It should give us something like this. And that is it, plus 2. So that is 0. That is 2 plus 16 plus 6 is 24. And if you divide it by 6, it's going to give us 4. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So that is how we get, that is how we use this part method to get the expected time. So it means that this 4 should be the expected time to finish this work called A. So even if we come to this our own, that is the method we are going to apply, taking what everybody contributed to get the time we are going to use to install and configure Dynamics 365 sales application. So it's simple calculation. The formula is static. I didn't forge the formula. That is how all of us meet this formula. So you can just use it. All you need to do is try to get the optimistic time, get the most likely time, and pessimistic time. If you get all these 3 time estimates, apply it to this formula, and you will get your expected time. So that is how they apply it to A, B, C, D, all of them. And this is the timing. That's how they get all the time to do it. The other one is 5.33, 5.17, 6. So that is how. So with this kind of arithmetic, you can see that it's professional. The way you are getting your time estimate is not like you just close your eye and say, okay, do this work in 2 days. Some people will say, you know that this work is too difficult, and they are now imposing it on me to do it in 2 days because you don't like me. This project manager never liked me, I know. So, but it's not that. When you apply this kind of professional method, everybody can see where it's coming from, and nobody is imposing anything on anybody. It's all about the team effort. So that is it. And once this is done, the next thing we need to do is a Gantt chart. We'll start applying this in a Gantt chart to see the visual representation. So what is Gantt chart? A Gantt chart is a visual representation of project schedule. It shows the start and the end date of a task, as well as dependencies between them. Okay. Like I said, it's like it's just like a visual diagram that shows you when the task is starting and when a task is ending. And then with that, you see the flow and you see the dependencies, how everything is flowing. So that is what it just helps us to visualize our project very well. And because you've gotten the time estimates for every of these activities A to G, now it's very easy to apply this time within your project plan, and it will start showing in your Gantt chart. So let's quickly see the benefit of Gantt charts. Number one is improved communication and transparency of project schedule, easy identification of critical part and project milestone, ability to track progress and identify potential delay. Then how do we create this Gantt chart? List all the project tasks. We've done that. When you are doing project breakdown structure, your work breakdown structure, you are listing all the project tasks. Estimate the duration of each task. We've used part analysis to estimate the duration of each task. So we've done that already. So that's what we are doing. We're trying to do it in sequence. So now you see, trying to create our Gantt chart, we've done two things. We've created work breakdown structure, and then we've estimated the time using the part analysis. Then identify dependencies between each task. So now when we created this, we are able to identify dependencies. When we say predecessors, it helps us. Like this A, you see, we put dash here because A is not depending on any task, and B is not depending on any task. They are on their own, they are parallel. So, but C, this C is depending on when A is finishing. So that's why you say that A here is a predecessor of C. And then this B here, let's look at D. D is equally waiting for A to finish. E here is waiting for B and C to finish. F here is waiting for D to finish. That is how they are depending on each other. So when there is delay in this F, is going to delay. So when there is delay in this D, is going to delay F. If this D is delayed by 1 day, automatically F is already delayed by 1 day. Then this G is depending on E to finish. If E is delayed by 2 days, automatically this G is delayed by 2 days. So that is how these dependencies are becoming a risk in our project. So we need to identify dependencies and see what can potentially delay any activity. So that is the reason we are doing this, to make sure that we don't have delays, and we have risk mitigation in place to make sure that if there is any delay, we have risk plan to mitigate the risk of the delay. Delay is a very big risk in project management. So coming back to our our Gantt chart, we say identify dependencies, which we've done that. Use a project management tool or spreadsheet to create the charts. We are going to use Microsoft Project or Project Labor. Then plot tasks on timeline according to their start and end date. Indicate dependencies with arrow or line. So once you plot timeline in a project plan while using Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project is a software for project planning. So that is what we are going to be using. Once you start plotting the time when a task is starting and the task is ending, automatically, you don't need to do any other thing. You start seeing the Gantt chart coming out. So the best practice is keep the Gantt chart simple and easy to read. Update the Gantt chart regularly to reflect the project progress. Use color code and symbol to highlight critical tasks and dependencies. So this is an example of how a Gantt chart should look like. This particular image is being captured from Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project is a software for project planning. So that is what so many organizations are using, but is paid, is a bit expensive for students, and we might not use it. We'll have alternative to this, but we are still going to learn about it. But we're going to use an alternative called Project Labor. It's exactly like Microsoft Project and it's free, totally 100% free. So that's what we're going to use. So let's look at how the project manager plotted this in a Microsoft project, and automatically the Gantt chart started shooting out. See, the project manager here, this is the task here. It captures the task, and the task name here is A, B to G. And then capture the predecessor here. You see how it's capturing the predecessor. So you need to plot it here in your project software, like Microsoft Project. You see the way A here is being captured as 1, B as, because they don't have any dependency here. There is no dependency here. So that's why they capture this as 1, because they are not depending on anyone. But C here, we captured 2 here, which is number 1, because it's dependent on C is dependent on B. That is how we are going to do it. It's very easy when we are doing it practical, but we cannot do it practical until we learn how to do it when we reach the tools. That is when we are going to start creating this. Everybody needs to create their own project plan. That is going to be something we are going to do. So, and again here, once you created the predecessor here, now you put the duration. Now here, you can see we are utilizing everything we've captured in this part analysis, in this our part document. You see, as we are utilizing it in this software. Now we've created a task, we've put the predecessor here, and then we're now putting the duration. We captured using the part method. You see all the duration we captured. Now we said 4 days. When you say 4 days, here you see the start days here. The start day is going to be, you need to state the start day. Once you state the start day from 4 days, 4 working days, it's going to be Monday to Thursday. And that is it here. You can see this Gantt chart. This Gantt chart is this blue and this same graph showing on, this is what we call Gantt chart. So you see it here, the Gantt chart is shooting out. It's within 4 days. 4 days is Monday to Thursday. You can see it here. And then the other one here is 5.5 day. And they start from Monday because it's not depending on the first task. So they are both starting the same day. But because one will last more than the other, you see the other one is 4 days and the other one is 5.5 day. So you see the B is shooting more than the A. And it cut across Saturday and Sunday. It's cut across Saturday and Sunday because although nothing is happening, but you need to meet to get to the next Monday, and that is when it's supposed to stop, and that is when it stops here. So, and you can see because what is the next is 2, which is task C, need to start when task A is finishing. So looking at it here, you see that task C here is starting on Thursday because task A is finishing on Thursday. You see the dependency, that is a dependency. And you see how they are, these are how all the items that are depending on each other, they are flowing. So when it will be easier for us to understand when we start doing it practical. But the point here is for us to see how a Gantt chart looks like. Gantt chart is mainly, we're going to understand this more when we start applying it in this particular software. So the note here is that the critical part is in red, and then the slack is in black color. That black line, these are what we call slack, all these lines here, and connects to non-critical activities. So the blue lines here are the non-critical activities. Then, since Saturday and Sundays are non-working days and are thus excluded from the schedule, some bars on the Gantt chart are longer if they cut across the weekend. Like we are seeing here, this blue is a bit longer because it's always cutting across weekend. You know, even this particular red here, it cuts across weekend. Is longer because of this weekend. That doesn't mean that there is work to be done on weekend. But when we start calculating, we're calculating from the working days. So if you look at it, if you look at the color here, you see that the working days here in the Gantt chart are shown by white color, while the Saturdays and Sundays are being shown by gray color. So, like I said, Gantt chart is just to help us to visualize how our work is flowing. Then, conclusively, a Gantt chart is a valuable tool for visualizing project schedule. It provides a clear understanding of the project timeline and help us identify potential bottleneck. So, like I said, it's more about visualization. Then we'll come to the next item, which once we finish this, I think that's enough for tonight. And this is what we call critical path method, or some people call it critical path analysis. So the main purpose of this critical path method is to identify the longest sequence of a task in a project, the critical path that absolutely must be completed on time for the project to finish on schedule. So the critical part here is for us to see, it helps us to see all the dependencies, the critical dependencies that we don't need to allow to be delayed. Because such areas, if it delays, is going to delay the entire project. So we need to figure out what tasks are critical. What was the critical parts here? So we need to identify all the critical areas, more especially dependencies, and try to, be careful while applying on those critical areas to make sure that while working on that area, if we are meant to work for 2 days there, then work for 2 days, because those areas we can't delay, because if you delay within those critical parts, it's going to hurt the whole project. That is the main reason, or the main message the critical part is trying to pass to us. Delaying any critical part will delay the entire project. That's why I highlighted it in yellow color here. So the benefit is to focus on critical tasks that drives the project completion, proactive identification and mitigation of potential delays. Anything that will bring potential delay within the critical path area must be identified and mitigated. Ability to evaluate the impact of schedule changes on the project duration. How do we create this critical path? Define all the tasks and their duration. We've done that already. Identify dependencies between tasks. We've done that already. Use project management software or manual calculator to determine the earliest start and the finish date. We've already done that. Then identify the critical path by finding the sequence of tasks that tasks with the least slack or float time. So now let's look at this critical part and see how we can do it a bit practical. The best practice for this critical part is to use accurate estimate for task duration, and we need to regularly update the critical path method schedule as the project progresses, and develop contingency plan to mitigate risk. This is major reason why we are using critical paths, to identify those areas that need to be mitigated. So we must have a risk management plan in place to tackle any delay within the critical areas we are going to identify. So to create this critical path, we are bringing this table again, because this is the main table we are working with. So we've created the activities, the dependencies here, and the start and the end date of every task is already determined. So now looking at this area, this is what the critical part it looks like. The items or the tasks or the activities in the red, this is a flow chart. The red in the flow container are the critical areas, and the ones in the blue are the non-critical areas. Okay, this is where the project starts. You can see the start. From the time the project is starting, 2 items are started. We started with 2 items or 2 activities or 2 tasks, and that is A and B because they are not dependent on each other. They started the same day, and then the A is being followed by another 2 items that are depending on this A. So these 2 items started immediately this A is finishing, and that is C and D. That's why you can see A, C, and D. They started. Then the only item that followed B is E. And then that item equally is dependent on C as well. It cannot start until C gets started as well. So you can see the parts of this red, they are the critical part in this project. So, and they don't need to be delayed. But in this B and D and E, they can be delayed in some days while these red colors are running. But that little delay is not going to affect the project negatively. But if anything happened to all these items or these tasks within the critical path area, is going to affect the project negatively. That's the main reason we're trying to identify these areas and trade with caution while working on these critical parts. That is the main purpose of identifying critical parts in project management. So you manage those areas very well. There are some of the areas you don't need to play around. You need to, you know, as you've identified the critical parts, so the people working on this area, like your team members, these are people you have to pay so much attention in what they are doing. You make sure you don't give them breathing space to play around while working on their deliverables, because if they play anything happen, they can't do anything. You must be you must mitigate around it. Another way to mitigate around these areas is that if you are working with your team members, all these critical path areas, these areas are where you need to ask this kind of question. You need to make sure that all the team members working on these areas, they must tell you if they are going on any annual leave within this time period, within this time. This work is scheduled. Are they going on annual leave? Are they going on maternity leave? Or are they going on paternity leave? Or any vacation? Are they going to they must make, you must ask so many questions to make sure that they are going to be available. If they are not going to be available, then you must look for their replacement immediately, even before this project is starting. This is what we call mitigation, because somebody must be available. But some people working on this area, they can say, well, I'll be off for 2 days. You look at your in calendar and see if 2 days here, maybe people within this place, if this area delayed by 4 days, is it going to be too bad? You find out that, well, it can be delayed for 2 days and still nothing. It's okay, no problems. By the time you come back from your 1-day annual leave, you still have time. So that's not, it's not a headache to you. But all these areas in critical paths, you must find out if they are going to be absent, any reason why they are going to be absent, and you start making arrangements for their replacement while they are not, while they are away on their vacation. So that is the importance of critical paths. So this particular critical path is being generated through a Microsoft project. To create a very good critical path, you can equally use a Visio or UML software to create it. It's a very important document for you to know your dangerous areas and work on them. So this particular critical path is being recreated using a UML document, and this is how it's looking. You see here, all this is when the project started, and this is A, this is B. So you can see our critical path areas here. There are areas that we need to be treated with careful, making sure that we have people always going to work within this area. Some people here can go on holiday and stay for like 2 days and nothing happens. So that is the importance. So the note here is that activity B, this is activity B here in blue, which is starting, it starts by, it's 5 days, 5.5 day duration. So activity B can be delayed almost 4 working days without delaying the project. You can see that. So if somebody working on this activity B is going on 2-day holiday, it can be allowed because his absence cannot delay the project. Likewise, activity D or activity F can be delayed for like 5 days. Can have 5 days delay. That is 4.68, which is almost 5 days. So it can be delayed. So what this delay cannot affect this project. So that is it. So activity B and F can be delayed by 2.3 working day each. So that is how, so they cannot be delayed more than 2 points. So you must even understand the amount of delay. So if they are staying more than 2 days, it can be a risk to you, in as much as it can be delayed, but it cannot be delayed. Each of them cannot be delayed for more than 3 days, just highest 2 days. So that is how you are being on top of your game when you are managing a project like this, and everything will still be flowing. So at times, when you see a project manager asking everybody, are you sure, when are you having it? It's because he's trying to find out, making sure that none of you are going to pose a danger to the project when you are absent. So let's look at another example to understand this critical part again, which we are going to use cooking as an example, cooking lasagna. So look at this process or activities to cook this particular food. The number one activity is to boil noodle and then drain the noodles. Then brown the meat. Then add red sauce. Then mix cheese fillings. Then layer lasagna and then bake the lasagna. So these are the predecessors. Before you boil lasagna, there's nothing else to do. So this boiling lasagna is not dependent on any activity. But draining the noodle, boiling the noodle, draining this noodle, you have to boil before you can drain. So this drain is depending on this particular boiling. So this is the first dependency here we've captured. So there is a dependency here. So this is now a predecessor. Boiling is a predecessor to draining. You must boil before you drain. Then browning the meat. Browning the meat is not dependent on any of these activities. It's on its own. So it's not dependent on boiling and it's not dependent on draining. And then add red sauce. This add red sauce, you must brown the meat before adding the red sauce. Then mixing the cheese filling. When you are mixing it, it doesn't depend on anything. You are just mixing it. So it's on its own. So no dependency. Then layer lasagna have so many dependencies here. Before you can layer the lasagna, first, these two, the noodle must be drained. And then you must here add the red sauce. And then you must mix the cheese fillings. If you don't do these three items, there's no way you can layer the lasagna. So that is it. So once the layer is done, the next thing is to bake. But you cannot bake without layering the lasagna. So that is this is the flow. So if you are going to create a flow chart on how to do this, let's see the flow chart on how this is going to work. This is a flow chart. The flow chart here, see, this is where it starts. It will boil the lasagna. After boiling, we drain. After draining here, we layer the lasagna. Then, as this one is on its own moving, then browning the meat is on a parallel, moving to layer the lasagna. So browning the meat and adding the red sauce is on their own. All this layering is depending on draining the noodle and adding the sauce. Then mixing the cheese filling is on its own. It's not depending on any activity. It's going directly. Once you finish mixing, you pour it inside the lasagna, layer lasagna, and that is it. And once the lasagna is drained, the noodle is drained, the red sauce, add the red sauce, you add the red sauce, and then the layer is ready, and then you put it on the oven bake. And then from the oven bake, the process ends. but we couldn't capture the critical parts here. So let's look at the critical parts in this area. Looking at the critical parts here, we see from the start, after boiling, then you move to drain. After draining, then you move to layering. After layering, to baking and air. So these are the critical parts. Activities within this area cannot be delayed, you know. So this one can be delayed, waiting when all these items are ready, because even if you finish mixing, you just have to wait when all these ones are ready, and before you can start pouring the mix chill. And you see, while you are boiling and draining, the browning the meat and adding the sauce can wait a little, because this boiling and draining takes longer time. So this can wait a little while. So while they are waiting, even if there is a little delay here, it's not affecting anything, because this lasagna is still boiling. It's going to take 25 minutes to boil. So while it's taking 25 minutes to boil, this is only taking 8 minutes. So there is still enough time. While 25 minutes, this just, and to add red sauce is just 1 minute. So is it 8 minutes plus 1 minute here is just 9 minutes. So you're going to take a total of 9 minutes to brown and add the red sauce. While this alone is going to take 25 minutes. So you can see this is more critical. So these two items can wait and nothing will happen. This one, mixing the cheese, is just only 5 minutes. It's not depending on anything. You just mix it. Even if you finish mixing it, you still have to wait for this noodle to boil. So you see the sequence here, because this one is taking longer time. That's why they are critical. If anything delays this, it automatically delays this whole project. It's going to delay the cooking. Anything that delays here is going to delay. If, for instance, you have amount of time you want to finish this food before you start going for your school runs. Maybe you have a time you plan it, you need to go to your school runs, and you don't want any delay. If anything happened, you couldn't boil this within 25 minutes, it might affect your school runs. And maybe when you go, they start questioning you, why are you late? So this is it, how even if you are simple cooking, you can apply critical method to make sure you are on point. So looking at this here, we have start and end time of each task. All tasks immediately start and we begin at 0. The task that follows will begin when their latest predecessor end. For example, notice that lasagna begins at layer lasagna begins at 27 minutes because boiling and draining noodle takes longer than red sauce and mixing this. So that is why it's because this is when this is stopping at 27th minute. So that's why the layering is starting here. So layer cannot start at 8 minutes when, or 9th minute when the red sauce is finishing, because it cannot start. It's not a critical area. So that is it. And that is where we're ending it for tonight. Critical path method is a powerful tool for identifying and managing critical project tasks. By focusing on the critical path, you can improve your project success, very well. So that's all we'll have for tonight. We've had in this particular critical part, the takeaway here is to understand the critical areas in our project and make sure we have adequate risk management in place. If anything should go wrong, we just mitigate it immediately. So this is the time for you to ask your questions if you've got any. So I know we're a bit technical at this point. Yeah. So, but project management is not that so technical like business analysis. So we can be more technical. The technicalities cannot go beyond this, So, if you have any question, I'm ready to take your questions.
Hello, sir. Thank you for the section.
Yeah.
I want to clarify, for the WBS, when we are trying to decide
the work breakdown structure.
Yeah, when we are trying to decide on the duration of each of the tasks, and I know we use 3 labels. That's normal, optimistic, and pessimistic. What if you are more than 3 members in the team? How do we label it?
That's why I said if we are 3 members.
More than 3.
If you are more than 3, I even said if we are like 20, let's say we are 20 in a team. Are you getting me?
Yes.
So, and you are the project manager. So all you need to do is you come to a time, like you have, at this point, you need to create some timelines and ask the team members to vote.
Okay.
Are you getting me?
Yeah.
With that, you are carrying everybody along, and you are not, restraining everybody for kind of a particular number. I can say, okay, in this project, let's say using an expert judgment, I think we can do this in 2 days, in 4 days, and in 6 days. If you believe we can do it in 2 days, vote 2. If you believe you can do it in 4 days, vote. You see, I've used the odd number to create a timeline now. I didn't say 2 alone. I said 2, 4, 6. Let us vote within these 2, 4, 6. And you see, out of the 20 people, we have some people we vote 2, some people we vote 4, and some people we vote 6.
Yeah.
And with that, you see, their job is not you carried everybody along and still come up with a very good result.
Okay.
Yeah.
That means the formula is dependent on the number of persons in the team.
It doesn't depend on the number of people. Like, the main thing is that some people have to vote, and it's just for you to get carry everybody along and see the number of people. Like, when I say 2, 4, 6, it still means that some people are voting on 2, some people are voting on 4, some people are voting on this thing. So you have to carry all these 4 numbers. You still need to gauge the amount, or you cannot tell any, you can't just give them, say how much. Some people cannot come and say a work, you know, here that you must do this work within, can finish this work in, let's say, 4 days. We'll say we want to finish this work in this week. This work cannot exceed 5 days. We've already said that it cannot exceed 5 days, but we don't know the exact days or the exact amount of days we want to do it. But we've stated that we want to finish this in 5 days. Looking at our project timeline. So, but we don't know. So we have to get the exact time to do that.
Okay.
So it's still a brainstorming. We'll still have to apply brainstorming, but it's a way of carrying everybody along. You know, where I said we still need to embark on historical data. You remember when I said historical data? Historical data means experience. Some people that have got experience will say, okay, if you want us to do this in at least within 5 days, well, I think we can do it in 2 days because I've done this before. The other one will say, okay, I've done it, I can do it in 3 days. The other one says, okay, 5, it's okay, good. Let's vote on 2, 3, 5. And that's it. And within that 2, 3, 5, you apply the part method and just come up with a particular thing. It doesn't mean that you are not going for election. It's just for you to carry the team member along. You are not going for any election where you start. You are the project manager in a project. You just have to carry people along, but you need to take decisive decision. You don't need them to start telling you what to do in their project because you are the project manager.
Yeah. Okay, during this process, during this phase, is the project sponsor, that's the high profile team members, are they going to be involved?
The project team member is not, project sponsor is not supposed to be there. Project sponsor is just for you to report and let them know how the progress of, but he's not a team member. Only if the project sponsor is handling a task within, but in most cases, the project sponsor is just a big man. He initiated the project and hire you people to do the job. Or is in the organization, you have secured funding for that project. It can be the head of sales or the HOD accounting or HOD marketing. And because he's a HOD finance and accounting, he needs a new ERP software for his department, and they have secured funding. So he's the sponsor here. He's a big man. So all of you are reporting, not all of you, the project manager is reporting to him. You don't need every other people to go. Other people doesn't report to him. Other people report to you as a project manager, and then you report to him.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Any more questions? All right. Thank you for all your contribution. And as it progresses, we're going to be, after the next class, we'll start doing some practicals. So just for you to prepare your mind. So thank you for joining, and see you very soon.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.
Yeah.